Hello, hello, hello. Hey, y'all. So, just as a disclaimer, I got the fan on me, so if it looks like I got something that's causing me to have like this flowy essence, like I'm on stage and it's a wind machine, it's just a fan. Not doing it on purpose, it's just hot. And I don't know if it's the same across the whole entire country, but in the South, we've been having a lot of heat advisories, and today is another one of those days. So, we are just going to wait to see who joins us. And y'all, like, as I'm talking to y'all now, y'all might see the light coming in and out. My ring light is blinking. Like, why? Oh my gosh. But I will troubleshoot that later. I'm not going to trip, but if you guys just see the lighting just change abruptly, because I don't know if it's going to go out or not. But I'm hoping that it gets itself together, that it holds up. So, how have y'all been? I have been good. And I think the last time that I went live, I let you guys know that even though I was off of the eye drops, I started them back again, and I am still waiting to wean off of them again. So again, it's just a process, and like I said before, I don't get upset over it. I just understand that where I am is getting me where I need to be. So if this is what I have to do in this season to really heal, to get well, that is what I am going to do. And speaking about healing, that's a big part of the reason why I wanted to do this live tonight. I originally intended to do this live, I think it was April 3rd, I believe, and it was so much craziness going on with me during that time. Like, I had even posted it in my stories, but by the time it came time for me to post it on my feed, I just couldn't. It's like, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it because it was just so crazy during that time, and like it was just so much, and I was like, I didn't think I could show up the way that I needed to so that you guys could really get the message, and especially with it being viewer requested. So someone actually wanted me to talk about this, so I felt as if I wasn't going to be able to give my best, there's no need for me to talk about it. So I am here tonight, and I don't know what my schedule will be. Like I said before, like I have to go off of how I feel. My goal is to do every 2 weeks, but I can let you guys know now, I may not feel like it every 2 weeks. So there will be more content. It will be on a more regular schedule. I just haven't figured out how regular that schedule will be. And just to give you guys some updates as we wait for people to come in. So as I mentioned before, my newest journal, Free Your Mind, Free Your Soul, is live now. So that is two journals that I have, and like I'm super duper excited. Like even now, just to see them, actually, like to hold them in my hand, because I have books published that are digital products on Gumroad if you want to check those out. But it's just something so special about being able to hold in your hand like what you envisioned, like what was in your head. And both of these pictures are like personal pictures that I took myself, things that I felt connected to and drawn to, and now they're on my journal covers. They speak to me in a certain way, and I hope that they speak to you in that way as well. So if you want us to get your copy, make sure that you go to the link in the bio. And also, I mentioned Gumroad, that is in the link in the bio as well. Feel free to join my Safe Place community. That is a membership that I have. And if you would like to know how you can sign up for free, DM me, I'm ready, and I will let you know how you can get in for free. And there are a lot of things that I share there that I'm not going to share here. And even though before I was sharing everything, I decided to save some things exclusively for the community. That way there are no spoilers over here. That way the community will get everything, the exclusive details. And if you sign up, there are different levels. And in the top tier, you will be able to chat with me on Zoom. So it's a one-on-one conversation. So it's not like you're just sharing me like with everyone at the same time here on live. And I don't allow people to join just yet, um, unless like it's someone who I actually have scheduled to discuss it with me. But on Zoom, it's like we're chatting, and I would love to get to know you guys on a more personal level, and not just share things about me, but get to know you all too. So if you guys are interested, make sure that you go to the link in the bio and sign up for that as well. Also, today is the last day of Amazon Prime Day, and normally I do not shop Amazon Prime Day because it was always overwhelming and confusing to me. I'm like, what? But this year I had a strategy. So I started with the things that I was already looking at, things that are already on my wish list, and I shopped out from there and just went to certain categories and looked for deals. Because if you really sit there and go through everything, to me, I think it's impossible to really just get through everything in the browse and just stumble across something. So if you guys are interested in getting some deals, I posted some on my Facebook page and on Twitter. I posted the links for you guys to go straight to them so you can get there. If you go to the link in the bio and it shows you the different profiles that I have, Facebook is there. Oh God, Twitter is there. So with that, you'll be able to go to either one of those, and it's the same post that I posted. And I'm one of those people, I like practical things. So I'm not ever going to share something that I would not buy myself, something that I have not bought myself. And I don't just want to put things out there just to be like, hey, you should buy this. But it's like, nah, if it's something that I would not purchase, I would not buy, I would not tell you all about it. So I am going to do a time check. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I don't want to spend a whole lot of time here because I wanted to keep it short and sweet and to the point. But I know that there are a lot of people out there who use passion and purpose interchangeably. And some people just aren't sure, like, what is the difference between the two? Should there be a difference between the two? And that's something that I wanted to talk about with you all tonight. And like I mentioned, this was viewer requested, and I was like, oh my God, like, this is such an amazing topic. And it's something that I have been thinking about a lot lately. So just to kick things off, I'm going to pose a question to you. What does passion mean to you? What does purpose mean to you? So I'm going to go to the dictionary here, and I'm going to give you the definition of what it is. So a passion is a strong and barely controllable emotion that you have. So the things that you are passionate about, it's like you feel very, very strongly about it. It's an emotion attached to it. But the thing that I want you to note about that, your emotions change. They shift. So some of the things that you might be passionate about right now, you probably were not passionate about it years ago. Or even the level of passion that you have might shift and change as you get older. And I'm going to go to the definition of purpose. The reason for which something is done or created, or for which something exists. And this is just deep on so many levels. Like, it's the reason why for anything. And what I'm going to share with you all, it is going to be bits and pieces from my personal life, how I've been able to navigate passion and purpose. And the one thing that I want to start off with, because passion is something that shifts, that changes, like it's not permanent, passion is something that inspires you. So something that is going to, get you going, something that motivates you. And I am super duper passionate about a lot of things. Writing, obviously. I am super passionate about human rights, especially when it comes to Black people. Super duper passionate about that. Also singing and dancing, and those are things that like I've always enjoyed doing ever since I was a little girl. Like reading, like listening to music, like super duper passionate about it. Things that I can spend hours doing, things that just fill me with so much joy. And even in reading other people's works, listening to their music, it inspires me to create my own. So those are things that I am motivated by. Even when I see someone who just recently released a book, it's like, oh, now I want to write. And I was just telling my sister, so I was watching The Best Man final chapters, and even though I had my issues with Harper Stewart, he's a writer, he's an author, and I love that about him. So just from watching something that's fictional, it inspired me to write. So like the things that you are passionate about, there are going to be things that inspire you. So on the opposite side, purpose is going to be what drives you. The reason why you do absolutely positively anything. And one thing that I've noticed about operating in purpose, it's not always going to be fun. As you can see, a lot of things that I mentioned that I'm passionate about is things that bring me joy, things that I like to do in my leisure time. Purpose, those are things that you are innately built to do, equipped to do. However, it takes a lot in order to really see it come to fruition, to really fulfill it. So in all of my passions, I've been able to discover that the one thing that's been consistent is my ability to help people see themselves. And I just said, you know what? I think that's my ability to heal. And I think that's the reason that like it's been consistent throughout my life. Even when I was a little girl, adults would like to talk to me. Like, who's having grown up adult conversations with a kid? But it's like it's something that like I've always had with me, even being out in public, because I'm naturally a person who's introverted. So I'm not one to spark a conversation. But it's almost like people can sense something from me. This is someone who I can talk to, someone who I should talk to. And that's the thing, it's like we're having a full blown conversation. It gets really deep, and this has followed me throughout my life. Like, even when I went to college, I thought I was going to be able to hide in the background, but no, I still was able to attract these kind of situations. And that's a big part of the reason why originally I majored in psychology and I wanted to be a therapist. But I found out, like, I don't think this is the way that I need to be made available to people by just being in an office charging $300 an hour. I was like, nah, that's not my thing. But I was like, just being present with people, even in what I do now as an editor, as a writer, just being present sometimes, like, that's enough. Like, I've always been that in my family, in my friend circle, just being that person that people can talk to and allowing them to see themselves. And there's a quote that I have posted on my website. I really do think like my purpose is to help people heal, like through sharing their gifts and their stories. The same way that I've been able to heal, by utilizing those gifts that you have. And I know so many people go through periods to where like they question, why am I here? What is the purpose for my being? And some people just aren't lucky enough to have always had certain things follow them. And even if they had, like, sometimes so much has happened that it's hard for you to hone in on the fact like this is what my purpose might be. And I want to help you all like tap into that a little bit if you are struggling with figuring that out. So sometimes we don't always use our gifts in the best way. So, people who you might say, oh, so and so talks a lot. What that person does not realize, like, they might have the gift to actually teach, to speak. However, they're just using it in a way that's not super productive. Even with people who you've noticed, it's like, oh, that are popular people. They can walk into a room, they can command attention. They might be here to influence people, to inspire people, to motivate people. But oftentimes you see it in a manipulative way, in a controlling way, to where people aren't using it in the way that it was intended for it to be used. Even with people who serve, like, that's also something that I feel is a part of my purpose. Like, just serving other people. Like, when you're just being present for people, like, that's serving them. And like, I've always been in a capacity, like, it doesn't matter what is going on. Like, even if I just intend to get something myself, before I know it, like, I'm serving someone else in the process. And that's a big part of the reason why, like, I love being a writer and an editor. Like, I'm serving, even though it does seem like it's transactional. But I tell my clients all the time, it's like, just as much as they receive from me, I receive from them, because it's like I know it's bigger than me. And that's the main thing with a purpose. Like, it's not something that's small. It's not something that's operating on a surface level. It's something that's deep, and it's bigger. Like, your purpose is never going to be something that just fulfills you. It's going to reach and touch other people when you know you are operating in purpose. And going back to a passion, oftentimes those are going to be things that just feel you. So it's like, those are things that bring you joy, that make you happy, that give you an escape. But it's not necessarily something that may impact and touch other people. In some ways, yes, because you do have like the times where like they overlap. So the things that you're passionate about are interfused. Is that even a word? Are fused into your purpose. And just like with me, it was through my passions that I was able to tap into, like, okay, this is really my purpose. This is what I am operating in. And I'm going to look at my handy dandy notes to make sure I'm covering everything. But it's like, that's something that I really want you all to just stop and think about. Like, what's the one thing that I know isn't just for me? What's something that really can be for other people? What can be shared with the world? So the next thing that I wanted to cover. So, going back to a passion, it can be temporary. So, it's more so something that's going to fulfill a goal or a mission. Something that isn't necessarily long term, even though it can be. So, with a purpose, it is going to fulfill a vision. And whenever you all see mission and vision statements for a company, they are written in a certain way for a reason. So whenever you see the mission statement, it's like, okay, so this is our main objective, this is our main goal. so that we can fulfill this bigger vision that we have. So you cannot necessarily get to the vision without having a clear mission, without having a clear goal, which is why I mentioned to you how some of my passions led me to my purpose. So me operating in this thing that may seem as if it's short term is helping me get to something that's long term. And I'm seeing a vision manifest in my life, like little by little. I know, like, I'm just seeing like just a snippet of it. Like, it's not the biggest picture that it could be. That is still unfolding. And the beautiful thing about that is that, like, you get to enjoy the journey, you get to enjoy the process. Because here's the crazy thing: where I am now was very difficult for me to see years ago. And mainly because, like, I just did not know, like, it was even possible. And I'm not even necessarily talking about the business, but just being at a point to where, like, I really feel good about myself. Like, I can honestly say I like myself. That wasn't always there, and being able to tackle that deep stuff that was very, very difficult and very, very hard for me to even deal with. Like, I did not know it was possible years ago. I didn't, but it was tapping into, like, okay, like, you got to be able to live out the thing that you are helping other people do in your purpose. Like, I don't think it's possible for you to help anyone if you're not able to help yourself. So we have someone who joined. Hello. So with that, you just have to stop and think about it. Like, okay, so is this thing that's making me happy right here, right now? Is it something that I just need right here in this moment to get to something else? Or is this the very reason why I need to do absolutely anything? Is this the reason why, like, I'm doing this, why I'm going through a lot mentally, emotionally, spiritually? Because that's the thing. Getting to your purpose is not always like a straight road. Like, there are a lot of twists and turns, there are a lot of curves. And with that, like, you have to be able to navigate them. And it is very difficult sometimes. I can tell you. Hey, how are you doing? Thank you for tuning in. And I am going to shout out. So, if you have not done so already, guys, like, I need you all to go and look for Naturally Unique by SOS. And I have mentioned her a lot whenever I wear some of her items in my videos. So you might see head wraps, you might see earrings that I wear that are hers. Like, I absolutely love her shop. So make sure that you guys go and you check her out. So again, that is Naturally Unique by SOS. I absolutely love the stuff that she has. And she's also a thrifter too. So a lot of stuff that she has is like vintage, like stuff that you cannot find anywhere else. So make sure that you go and check that out. So awesome. She says she's good. She's just relaxing. That is beautiful. So Wednesdays are my days off. So that's my day to relax. So whenever I get off of this live, I'm going to chill out for the rest of the night. Like, just do something that doesn't require that much activity. Like, I'm so happy that you joined us tonight. And so just to reiterate what I was saying, when it comes to your purpose, you have to remember that it's a bigger vision that you are fulfilling. So, like, the teeny tiny steps that you are taking to get there, it's all for the bigger picture. And it may not be clear right here, right now, in this moment, but you just still have to be willing to navigate each and every step as it comes. Because sometimes we get super excited, we try to jump ahead because, like, we can see things. And I don't know if you all are like me. There are a lot of things that I've always seen myself doing ever since I was a little girl. And because I can see those things, it's like, okay, I need to jump over this step and do this in order to get there. But now I'm at a point where I'm realizing, like, no, like, whenever I get there is whenever I get there, because I don't want to miss out on absolutely positively anything that's happening right here. So in the meantime, I'm going to continue to work on the things that are building me for that moment. Oh, it's no problem at all. She said she didn't want to interrupt it. It's no problem at all. So with that, like, that's what I'm here for. And also, like, if you had any specific questions that you wanted to share, feel free to drop them in the comments. Like, I haven't checked out Instagram in a while, so I'm like, do they still have a questions box? But if you do have questions, like, you can just drop them in the comments, or you can DM me. And I'm just going to continue looking at what is coming up next. So, this is really where I wanted to go. So with this, like I mentioned, with trying to navigate where you're going whenever you're getting to your purpose, sometimes you are going to hit some roadblocks. Sometimes you are going to experience a lot of pain. And in working on the things that you're passionate about, like I mentioned with me, with writing, with singing, with dancing. So yeah, those were some moments where, like, okay, maybe I'm not doing it exactly the way I wanted to do, especially struggling with perfectionism. So it's like, oh gosh, like, why is it so hard for me to get this, you know? And that's another story in and of itself. Like, if I was to tell you all about, like, my journey with being a writer, with even being comfortable with my voice, you know, because I don't think, like, you know, I'm like a singer, you know, but I feel like I can sing enough to get the message out, you know. But like just going through that process of like just, okay, so this didn't work this time, so let me figure out what it is that I have to do differently. When you're operating with things like that, it's like you're just working, you're just building bit by bit. And it still may be disappointing, but not necessarily anything that might completely make you question why are you doing anything. A lot of the times when I was getting closer to discovering my purpose, I questioned a lot. What am I even doing? Why am I even doing this? Like, even now, if you guys have watched my previous videos, like I told you, dealing with my eye condition, I'm like, ugh, like, why do I even still try to do anything? Because a lot of the things that, like, I've been afraid to do, that I push myself out to do, even doing these lives, speaking more, creating more, working with clients on different projects that I was even scared to touch. So a lot of that involves people seeing me, seeing my face. And that's the main thing that is affected. So it's like, how am I going to move forward? How am I going to keep pushing through? That's a big part of the reason why I had to take an extended break. Because I was like, look, I got to get myself together because I don't like showing up in this way. And because it was weighing on me, like in so many different ways, I was like, okay, I got to pull back. I have to get myself together. And because it was just like such a heaviness, it's like, is this even where I need to be right now? Like, because we automatically think that because this is what I'm supposed to do, it's going to be easy, it's going to be fun. But oftentimes, it's like whenever you experience the most pain, the most disappointment, that's when you know you are exactly where you need to be when it comes to purpose. I would say that because in relationships, that's another story. But when it comes to your purpose, like that has been a confirmation that I have been continuously getting, like leaning not unto my own understanding because it's not about me. It's not about me. Even though I'm the one who's experiencing the pain, I'm the one who's experiencing the hurt, it's still not about me. Like I have to go through all of that so that I can help someone else figure out how are they supposed to be here in this world and operate in this world. That's why I'm doing it. So even with me sharing this video, like it was important for me to get on here tonight because I'm like, me sharing this is going to help someone else get closer to where they need to be. And just think about that. Like if all of us are able to fully operate in our purpose, it's like we would be unstoppable. You know, like whenever I see people, groups of people who are able to pinpoint, like, okay, I know this is what I was put here on this earth to do, and they partner with each other, it's like amazing things happen. Amazing things happen. So, like, that's just something, like, even if I'm not fully a part of it, it's like, well, at least let me have a little, you know, take in it. You know, just helping someone really fully tap into who they truly are and knowing whose they truly are and knowing that with that they will be able to do what they were brought here to do. Because I think a lot of times, like especially with a lot of things that I've experienced in the past, it's like it really sucked. It really sucked. But guess what? In those passions that I would have absolutely nothing to write about. I would have absolutely positively nothing to sing about. I would have nothing to talk about had those things not happened. And with me being a storyteller, I still feel that's a part of me helping people heal. Because one of the ways that I was able to heal was listening to other people's stories, being moved, being motivated, captivated even by their stories. So in the same way, like that's all I want to do is just spread that, like just share that with other people, and in any way that I can. So in some ways, I guess like if you can put it like things that you are passionate about may ignite a fire in you, but sometimes when you're operating in purpose, it may feel like you are in a fire. But the beautiful thing about that, there is beauty for your ashes. And all of those things that are getting burned up, they're being removed so that you can come out better on the other side, so that you can really show up the way that you are supposed to show up. So I'm getting close to the end here, guys. So I had one more thing that I wanted to share with you all. So with your passion, those are things that you get to do. So things that you choose to do. With your purpose, it is something that you must do. And I say must do because there's no way you could ever fully be at peace when you are not operating in your purpose. Like when I think about when I first began, like as a freelancer, like 2015 was a very difficult year for me. A lot of changes, a lot of transitions. And when I tell y'all, like I still can remember how I felt, just feeling just dazed, confused, like feeling as if I wasn't doing anything meaningful, feeling as if like I was a failure. Because by this time I had 2 degrees. Like that's what they said. Go to college, get your degrees, get a good job. I had just left a job that was going nowhere. And it's like, oh gosh, like what am I even doing with myself? Like you just feel like it's just like it's no answer to like all the questions that you have. It's like, how did I even get here? Like, why am I even here? And it was from me listening to people share their stories that I was able to tap into, like, okay, what's something that I can do that will be meaningful? And what I came to was writing and editing. And here's the funny thing, that's the one thing that has been with me since I was young, but I didn't think it was practical. All I heard growing up was like, if you're a writer and author, like that's not a secure income. So you got to go to a job, get you some good benefits, so you can retire, have things saved up in your 401k. Like that's all I heard. And it's like, it's kind of like people who were writers and authors, it's like they were successful on a whim. Like it wasn't something that like multiple people could experience, just a select few. So I had that in my head, not realizing that God was taking me through that process of where it just felt like there was nowhere else for me to go to get me to see how I needed to operate in my purpose. And even with me beginning to work with clients, there were a lot of things that I ran from. I ran from them. I did not want to edit people's books. And the reason why I didn't was because like I felt books were so sacred to me and I didn't want to mess up people's books. It's like, look, I just want to edit academic papers. Like I don't want to mess up no book, cuz it's like even with me like being an avid reader, I still felt like I don't know what it really takes to have like a good book. And again, like that was just me doubting myself, right? But here came a client who was like, look, I got this chapter for you. So it's like, okay. So I went ahead and did it completely terrified. And next thing I knew, I had a full book. And from there, I had people who just kept asking me, well, can you do this? Can you do that? And it's like, before I knew it, like I was facing the very thing that I was running from. Like, what's the irony in that? And the real question, well, the real answer to that question is that, like, it's not irony. It's purpose. And there's no way that you can get out of it. Like you are going to continue to get those reminders that this is what you need to be doing. And even with me speaking to you all, sharing my story, like the more that I held to myself, the more miserable I felt. But the minute I began sharing with other people what I had experienced, what I was going through, it's like I just felt so free. And all I wanted was for other people to feel that same freedom as well. And now, like, here we are. And even with me writing my book, it's like I know for a fact, like, this is going to help so many people get free. That's the reason why I created my journals. Anxiety has been a big part of my life. Not feeling free in my own mind, like, has been a part of my life. So, like, I created these things to help other people, like, tap into those things that are being blocked by all the negativity that they've heard, all the bad experiences that they had. Like oftentimes that's what's really blocking you from really operating in your purpose, from even being able to tap into it. And you have to be able to clear that stuff out. And like that's a big part of the reason why, like, if I don't do absolutely positively anything else in this world, like I know like God has already allowed me to operate in my purpose. I know it. Something as simple as thank you means the world to me, especially when like I've been able to help someone see a part of themselves that either they forgot or they didn't even know was there. To see something new, to even be reacquainted with pieces of themselves, and this happens a lot in book writing. It happens a lot, and it happened with me, and that's how I know. And I continue to get that confirmation. I work with people from all different parts of the country. They all have different backgrounds. Oftentimes, they tell me the same exact thing. And I know that that's confirmation from God. Like, you are doing exactly what you need to be doing. Like, They all tell me, like, you're easy to talk to, you're just patient, like, and that's the thing that I love to hear, because I wasn't always that way, because I had convinced myself that I wasn't. I had convinced myself that, like, I had to be hard with people, I had to block them out because of all the hurt, all the disappointment that I had experienced. But when I just showed up as myself, like, the right people began to come to me. And it's like that is like what you put out there in the world, like you do, you receive it back. And like that's all I want people to be able to do. So whatever their true purpose is, whatever gifts they are meant to share, all I want to do is help them tap into that so that they can share it with other people. Yep. Yep. So what she said was, I can relate to this. Every time I share my losses, wins, advice, I know I'm not only helping others, but I'm helping myself. That is so true. That is so true. I see we have someone else join. Hello. I absolutely love that. And that's the thing, like, because a lot of people still are very uncomfortable with a lot of the things that I talk about. And even with the experiences that I had that overlap with other people, I'm still very careful not to tell their story, but I have to tell mine. Like, there's no way that I cannot tell my story. Like, I must do this thing. And every single time, it's like I feel like a weight is lifted. And if I can help other people, like, just see, like, we're really not that different. Like, we really all have the same struggles. And it's just that we are taught to feel guilt. We are taught to feel shame. That's what keeps us quiet. But it's like in sharing our stories and our testimonies, like that is what helps set people free. So we got someone else who joined. So for everyone who's just joining, so I'm basically wrapping everything up. So for me, passion versus purpose, what I just mentioned was that passion is something that you get to do, something you choose to do. Purpose is the thing that you must do. Like that is what you were created to do. The reason for your being. The thing that if you don't do absolutely positively nothing else in the world, like this is the very thing that like you were required to do. This is what you were created for. Like this is what you were purposed for. And one of my favorite scriptures is Jeremiah 29:11. And I know a lot of people are like, when you look at the context, it's not that inspiring because the people are in captivity at this time. But even though, like, it's not a physical captivity, I still can relate to that. Like I mentioned before, like, just feeling captive in my mind, feeling captive with my emotions. But just knowing that God knows the plans that He has for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a hope in the future. And because of that, like, I don't really have to figure anything out. All I have to do is just be willing to follow His lead, to be obedient to His word. Like, be just willing to submit, to be like, hey, I surrender. Like, I'm not going to try to do absolutely anything here. Like, I'm letting you take the lead. And the more that I do that, the more that purpose continues to show up for me in the way that I'm able to grow in it. So we got someone else who joined. Hello. So again, like I said, I'm just wrapping up passion versus purpose. So if you guys have any specific questions for me, feel free to drop them in the comments and I'll take a few questions now. Hello. How are you doing, Timothy? And speaking of some of those clients, I have some who are popping up right now. Hey, Tyrone, how are you doing? It's kind of like a mini reunion that we have going on now. And I absolutely love it. And especially with me mentioning, my journey here, especially with being an editor, is like how I got my start was just someone who trusted me. And they didn't even realize, like, they were doing God's work. Didn't even realize what they were doing. They were just looking for someone to help them edit a book, not realizing what they were awakening in me, which is why I said it's like the journey is absolutely beautiful. Even though it's difficult, even though it's hard, there are a lot of disappointments, there's a lot of crying. I know for me there has been, but it is still beautiful. Still beautiful. So someone else joined. Let me make sure I wave. Same here. So Tyrone mentioned that he's good, just busy and trying to balance it all. Yeah, same here. Same here. And that's the thing. You know, just have to balance it because it's like we don't always know what's coming because we can have everything perfectly planned out. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, but whenever life happens, you just have to adjust and figure out like, okay, so I may not be able to do it the way that I wanted to, but how am I capable of doing it? And like I said, when you know it's beyond you, you're willing to do it. You are willing to do it. And I may have mentioned this before. Like, there are so many things that I had planned to have already done by now, but I could not do them. You know, like, November completely just came out of nowhere and just set me back. And that was one of those things where, like, I can't do anything but just sit here and wait. You know, that was close to 2 months of me doing absolutely no work. And at that time, I was stressing out about, like, how much I had to do. The projects that I'm working on now, they were supposed to have been done top of the year, but because I have to work at a much slower pace now so that I don't stress myself out, it's like, okay, God, if that's what you have for me. And like I said, the beautiful thing is having people who understand that and who aren't necessarily thinking that it's like, okay, well, now you're incapable, like you can't fulfill what you promised, but they're understanding because they get it. They really get it. I love that. So hello, we have someone else who joined. So getting ready for book two, or finishing up the devotional elements we started a few years ago. Yeah. And it's interesting that you would mention that. So the devotional that we started, like that was during like a very, very rough period for me. Very rough period. That was kind of like me getting to where I am now, but having to go through those rough spots. Like when I first began to realize that like this isn't working for me. Whenever you start to get faced with all the things that you're running from, and for me, like before it was professionally, but then it started to seep in emotionally. So me coming to terms with the fact that like I was not emotionally healthy, that I was very unhealthy emotionally, that in a lot of ways, like I probably was a functioning depressed person. And it began to weigh heavily on me, began to show up in my work. There were some things like I could not even bring myself to finish, even though I wanted to, because of everything that was going on. Yeah. Wow. Wow. And what is so crazy is that like I have been thinking about that a lot. Like because there was one client who I just felt she just expected way too much out of me. And it was just too much. So it was like, okay, I know for a fact we don't need to work together anymore. But with this particular project, and probably because it was a devotional, I was like, this is something I definitely still need to see through. Even if I cannot see it through at this moment, this is still something I need to see through. So, like, it's amazing that you are mentioning, like, feeling led to work on it again. Like, that is amazing. I still have the notes. And that's the reason why, like, I was thinking about it recently. I was looking in the folder where those notes are. So, like, whenever you are ready, just let me know. And the beautiful thing about it now, like I know, like I can come in like with fresh ideas, like to where like I'm not carrying all the heaviness that I had before. Like I can come in and just go. You know, like there's absolutely like nothing that's in the way now. Like all of those blockages, like I have worked very hard to clear them out and to keep them cleared out. And even in the moments where like it is still difficult, I just go to what works. And that's prayer, that's meditation, that's journaling, that's reading, going back to those passions that I mentioned, like doing things that just put a smile on my face, even watching an old show, an old movie. So it's like just getting in touch with those things. Yeah. So like I said, whenever you are ready, just let me know and we will go from there. So did anyone have any questions? Yep. And that's also something else I've noticed too. And most of my clients I feel have been a mirror to me. And they either reflect where I've been, where I am, or where I'm going. And when I tell y'all, like there are so many of my clients who've had to work through a lot of the things that I've had to work through, even at the same time that I've had to work through them. But the beautiful thing that I love to see is like we always come back. And it's like, all right, I'm ready now. Let's go. Because even with my first book coaching client, we both were going through a lot. And that was in 2019. We both were going through a lot. But guess what, y'all? we're getting ready to publish our book. And that's the beauty about it. And it's like, again, I know this is something that she has to do, not something that she just gets to do, because she's telling her story. And a story that was one that was like shameful to her once upon a time, one that a lot of people didn't want her to share, and probably a lot of people still don't want her to share it, but she's not thinking about herself. She's thinking about the person who is going to help. And again, that's why I say, like, your purpose is not about you. It is not about you. Now, will you reap the benefit of it? Absolutely. You really will. You will be blessed tremendously when you're operating in purpose. But the goal is to bless others even more. That's the goal of purpose. So let me do a time check. So I'm so glad that you guys popped in. Like, I was not expecting, to have like a mini reunion, like I mentioned before. But again, purpose. Because, like, this has happened, like, probably never since I've been on this live. Like, with the amount of people who have joined and then who joined. And even though, like, the numbers are still low, I always know that, like, it reaches the right people. It always does. And it's like, I'm never worried about that. Never worried about that, because, again, how I feel, even if only one person sees it, I know that only that one person needed to see it. Like, I'm okay with that. Perfectly fine with that. So, like I mentioned before, if you guys have any questions, you can drop them in the comments below before we get off, or you can DM me if you had other questions that you didn't want to necessarily share. And like I mentioned before, if you want to check out anything that I am doing, please go to the link in the bio and check it out. And also, guys, so for the first time ever, I decided, what, if you want to treat yourself, then treat yourself. Because it's something that I normally do not do, but my birthday is coming up next month on August 9th. And normally I'm very quiet, really don't acknowledge it that often. If I do, it's kind of like after the fact I just put up a picture. But this year, I was like, it's okay to want to treat yourself and to allow other people to treat you as well. So I created a wish list on Amazon that's in my link in bio as well. So they are all the things that I love, like I mentioned to you guys before. So you will see a lot of books on the wish list there. But if you just wanted to sew into me, feel free to do it that way. So you can go and check out the wish list there. Or if you did want to sow a seed financially, you were free to do that by clicking the donate tab in the link in bio as well. But I was like, I'm just going to put it out there. With everything that happened with me before, I do believe that it was an eye-opening experience. And I mean that literally and figuratively. And it just allowed me to just, like, appreciate life more, to really want to live life more, and to be more intentional. And especially with me being someone who's always been introverted, I've always wanted to hide, always wanted to stay in the background. But where I am now, I know I cannot hide. I cannot stay in the background, and while it's still great, to be someone who's humble, who allow other people to go before you, but sometimes it's okay for you to put yourself in the spotlight. And it's not in a boastful way, it's not in a prideful way. It's just knowing that it's like, I deserve to be here, especially after me, like, hiding in the background for so long. And like I said, I don't want to get in the way of anyone else and what they are meant to do. So if people want to sew into me, now I'm creating ways for them to do that. And as always, like, I have my digital products on Gumroad. You can check out my membership, also my journals that you can check out on Amazon as well. So, like, everything will be in the link in the bio. Yes, we did. So Tyrone mentioned that we released his book in 2016, and it is called Outside the Huddle, and it is available on Amazon. And there is also a workbook too. And if you go to my portfolio on my website, you'll be able to go straight to it. And y'all, like, this really was the first book I ever edited. And it holds a very, very special place in my heart because of that. Because, like I said, that was just someone who took a chance on me, not knowing, like, what they were opening up. So, like, I have told him this, but it's like, I feel like I will forever be indebted to Tyrone for just trusting me with that opportunity. And when I tell y'all, it's like the people who he brought in after him, it was amazing too. So many more doors that were open. So like I'm super duper grateful, and like I said, even with the people who reflect where I'm going, like a lot of the things that he was doing with his organization, that's something I aspire to do too. So I feel as if like I'm surrounded by the things that I need to see. And even if it seems like where I am right now, like I'm not like taking that many steps, I know that the focus is to keep moving forward. Thank you. Yes, it is. So Timothy mentioned that it's okay to give yourself flowers and to receive flowers from others. I'm learning that now. I really am. And yes, so I'm glad that Timothy mentioned this too. So Timothy's book is called The Undrafted, and it's also on my portfolio as well. And Tyrone referred him to me. And these are people who I have worked with for years. I started out as a freelancer on Fiverr, y'all. And the crazy thing about Fiverr, like, there were so many, like, scary stories that people had to where people took their work and messed it up, took their money, disappeared. So it's like, it was like them taking a chance because you really didn't know who you were getting on that website. And like I said, for them to even follow me. So even when I decided to leave and just start my business, it's like, oh my God, like when I tell you, like blessings on top of blessings, like it just never stops. Like it continues to give. But that's also how I know I'm operating in purpose. How like every single thing, even when it seemed as if it was not lining up, when I look back, it was in perfect order. It was in perfect order. Thank you. Thank you. And that's the thing, your God given talent. The thing that you uniquely were given. And even now, like I'm still trying to navigate this space because, when you get into the business aspect of it, of marketing and advertising, like there are so many carbon copies of people. And it's like because one person is doing this, now the other one feels they have to do it. Like I still haven't fully gotten into that because it's like it's not really me. And it's like even with a lot of the content that I post, like I still want it to be a reflection of me. Even though I understand, that's a part of the game now. But I still don't want to be like everyone else because that's the thing. Like me not being like everyone else, me just showing up as myself, like that's what attracted people to me. And that's the thing that they were able to connect with. So like that's something I don't ever want to lose. Will never lose. So even as I continue to grow and figure out ways how I can grow without losing parts of myself, like I always keep that in mind. It's like just going back to it's like when not that many people knew who you were. Like they still trusted you even without seeing like a lot of your work. And that's another thing too. Not that many people asked me for samples. They did not. They truly just trusted in my God given abilities. Things that have followed me because, like I said, my bachelor's degree is in psychology, master's degree in liberal arts. I did not study writing formally. I just always had a love for books and for words. And this is what it has grown into. Yeah. And even now, like I still do advise people whenever you are working with freelancers, especially on like Upwork and Fiverr and other places like that, read the reviews. Really go through and start with the negative ones first and get a clear understanding. Because even sometimes with the negative ones, it may not be a deal breaker for you. And even with the positive ones, pay attention to what it is that they're highlighting, what they're saying. Like, I love when the review was super duper detailed. That way, it's like people could already know what they were getting, what to expect. And it is, especially when you are trying to make sure that you're not overspending. That's also another factor because again it's like having to start over with people sometimes can be costly. So I'm still not completely against it, and I know a lot of people would be like that's taking money out of my pocket, but it's like I understand, like because even with me as of right now I'm the editor of my own book. Trying to keep the budget low, so I get it and I understand, but it's like there are ways around it, ways that you can still find gems, who are hitting, and what may appear to be like a lot of coal. You still can find them. Oh, thank you. So Timothy mentioned that I'm his editor for life, and I absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. And that's another thing that I mentioned. Like when I hear a lot of the same things over and over, I've had other clients who said the same thing. Like, nah, I don't want anybody else but you. Like, we're working together forever. And like that's something that like I can't do anything but just give God like all the glory. Cause it's like I could have talked myself out of this a long time ago. Actually thought about doing it multiple times because it just seems so difficult. It just seems so hard. And even just sitting here, like having a conversation that I've been having tonight, again, it's purpose. It is purpose. So, like, even if you have been soul searching and you haven't been all the way clear on what it is you are meant to do, just go to God. And I know a lot of people have different belief systems. However, I do believe that I did not get here by myself. It was not me because again, it's like I was used to shrinking. I was used to hiding. Like there's no way like I could be where I am now and being okay with where I am. Cause that's the other thing too. You think that because like okay, I know my purpose, so life is supposed to be great. Nah, it's not always that way. And it's like you have to know how to roll with the punches. Cause again, you know that it's greater on the other side of where you are. Thank you. It was so great catching up with you. So I do look forward to hearing from you. So I'm about to sign off too. And again, thank you, thank you, thank you to everyone who tuned in tonight. Like I said, I was not expecting it. And this was a very pleasant surprise. Like it definitely blessed my soul. And I hope that anything that we talked about tonight, that it will bless yours. And as always, you guys can reach out to me with your questions, any concerns. Even if you wanted to continue this conversation, feel free to do so. But if you would like a lengthier conversation, make sure that you join the membership. And like I said, I really do go into a lot of detail there, get to the nitty gritty of a lot of things. And of course, like I make this disclaimer, like I'm not a life coach, not a mental health professional. However, I do like to go deep sometimes. And to help people see like where it is that they can heal, where it is that they can grow, and point them in the right direction in the same way that I had to navigate that path for myself. So thank you so much, and you keep grinding too, and I hope that you all keep grinding and keep working. And even if it's not clear to you all right now, just know that it will be made clear, and it will be perfectly clear. And it's like everything that you ever questioned, everything that you ever doubted, like you will have a clear understanding of why you had to go through it or why you had to be here. So again, thank you all for tuning in tonight, and I will let you all know when I will be back. Like I said, now, not really sure about my schedule, but I will definitely let you all know. So I hope that you have an amazing night, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye.